Hello AOS fans, you probably saw a flash of Condemners there, but this is not a Condemners deck, but I am back with a deck review for you. Yes, today I am going to be looking at my new deck for the Gitz. Haven't played the Gitz since my rather poor showing at the Grand Clash, and I will be playing them this week against Pete. I can't remember what Pete is bringing, but I'm not even sure if I know. But I will be bringing the Gitz, and it's a Andrew Marlowe special. Creative director Andrew Marlowe has asked us to, not asked us, but suggested that we play a Gitz deck, and he's got his Volley caller deck. So this is Andrew's Volley caller deck, and I have tinkered with it a little bit because I wasn't quite happy with some of the objectives, mainly in the way I play, and I think I swapped out. I can't remember exactly what I swapped out, but a couple of things anyway. So here's the deck. Let's have a look. We've got our objectives. We've got Branching Fate as well as the first one. I'm not a great fan of Branching Fate, but the Gitz do have a number of 3 sword attacks. So it's a reasonable card to have in the deck. Calculated risk when you're playing the Gitz. It's not really a calculated risk. It's just common sense. Similarly, Martyred. Again, Gitz drop like a 9-pin, and they don't do much damage, so the chances of you killing somebody before you're killed are fairly slim. Scrum, you can actually score this from the setup quite often, so Scrum is brilliant. Swift Capture, again, Gitz, high mobility, swarming objectives. Swift Capture is a bit of a no-brainer. And I've gone for Temporary Victory. Even though we're trying to shoot things in this deck, you can still get Temporary Victory relatively easily with the Gitz. And similarly, Supremacy. Supremacy kind of follows on from Temporary Victory. This was a slightly tougher score, obviously, because it's not a surge card, but hopefully we can pull that off, especially early in the game. Later in the game, it's quite tough. You quite often don't have 3 Gitz alive, and you can't make use of their scurry and what have you, but hopefully we can. Combination Strike, it's in practically every deck. This should be okay to score, but there are some difficulties. Branching Fate could stymie me, and obviously not getting the surge cards out at a certain time could be a problem. But yeah, Branching Fate is probably the main block on there, possibly Temporary Victory. Fired up, the Gitz are notoriously easy to inspire, and as they Snurk inspires pretty much automatically anyway. He's particularly good, and so Fired Up is a bit of a dead cert. Keep Chopping now. This deck is all about shooting. If it comes out first turn, things can get a little tricky, or if it comes out after you on your second after you've scored a surge and then draw it on first turn, can be a nightmare. But this is all going to be a lot about the pew pew. You've got some range in there to help you keep scoring, keep chopping. As I often say, it's ironic that actually Keep Chopping is easier to score if you keep shooting. And then finally, Path to Victory. I'm not completely convinced by Path to Victory in this deck, but hopefully we can take some people out and then be on 2 objectives. My idea is that there'll be Prog probably, and maybe even Snurk on objectives, not doing very much at the back. Now that sounds really weird, but moving Snurk in a similar way to the Skaven Loot and Scoot deck. If you're attacking with script, you're doing it wrong. In this game, if you're moving with Snurk, you're doing it wrong. Trying to remove his unreliability from the game. And then finally, the ace in the hole is the Hoarder. So 3 glory for 9 unspent glory points can be easy to score. If you're running away with it, you'll run away with it even more. It could be tricky. Obviously, third end phase cards, if they come out early in the game, can be a problem. But we're trying that. That's kind of the secret trick of the deck, perhaps. Gambit wise, we've got Distraction, which is obviously a brilliant card, and this has the Spacebar version in it for some reason. Little War, this is a determined effort specifically for goblins. No real advantage of taking one over the other, except this one will always be available, and determined effort will be rolling out when Nightvolt leaves. Sneaky Step. Choose a friendly fighter and push them 1 hex, so it's sidestep for goblins. Inspired Attack. Now this is one of my favourite cards, especially if you've got a large number warband that inspires relatively easy. Inspired Attack is great. 2 steps forward. Good for the goblins. Try and get on those objectives. You've always got the caveat that the other person can push somebody a hex, but that's not normally too bad, I think. And for the goblins, you're probably not giving up much tactical difference there anyway. So 2 steps forward is a great card. Frenzied Search, I think it's compulsory. I think Andrew is contractually obliged to include this in any of his decks, so Frenzied Search is in there. But again, it's not too bad. Always going to be on objectives. Always going to be looking to draw cards, so that's in there. Leadbone Dust. This card is pretty great. It adds, what does it do? It adds a move token, so that can be really sort of stymie people's plans, and it gives them ensnare until the end of the turn. The fighter that you're shooting against or trying to hit gives them ensnare, so it's a nasty card. Restless Prize, good for screwing up your opponent and great for helping you with temporary victory and swift capture and all that kind of stuff. Jealous Hex, so this is a spell deck. I haven't played these spells for a while, tend to shy away from them. Jealous Hex, it's a pretty nice card. If this card is cast, choose a fighter that has the highest wounds characteristic on the battlefield. That fighter has -1 wounds. This spell persists until after that fighter is out of action. It's a goblin specific card. I don't think I've ever taken it before. It's a focus, which is slightly more tricky to cast obviously than the channel, but still with Zarbag's two spell dice, it's a reasonable chance. And yeah, I mean, it's good. Your Gitz, I think they're all pretty much, unless you're playing Sudden Growth, which I've dropped. I think that was in the deck. I've dropped that. There's no Sudden Growth unless you're playing that. Pretty much everybody has a fighter that's more woundy than Zarbag or Drizgit. Abyssos's Withering, great card. Maybe not play in conjunction with Jealous Hex necessarily, because you're dropping somebody down to -1 wound, or not, you get dropping their wounds by 1, so potentially could mess up Jealous Hex depending on who you're playing. But it's a good card against strong wound fighters, or even low wound fighters. You can finish them off. And then in the upgrade department, we've got Great Strength, the most taken card in the game. Archer's Focus. So this is about shooting. Archer's Focus allows you to re-roll when shooting. Challenge Seeker, +1 dice if you've got higher wounds, or nearly everybody's got higher wounds than the goblins. Fighter's Ferocity, +1 damage if you get a critical hit. You can see this deck, and Glory Seeker, +1 damage if you're shooting against 4 wound fighters. This kind of deck is all sort of geared up to putting things on the archers and shooting with them and hoping for the best, really. Unfortunately, they do only have 2 swords, which makes it a bit painful. But Potion of Rage, improve that, and you've got Sneaky Step to improve that too. Spectral Armour, just in case you might want to keep Zarbag or somebody alive. Cryptic Companion, brilliant on these guys. If you've got Snurk in the backfield or somebody like that, really good to have them with Cryptic Companion on. And Survival Instinct, similarly, can't be pushed off by an attack. They are on guard. And then the final ace in the hole, if you will, is Volley Caller. Now, I have had a little talk to Andrew since playing with this deck, so I have played the game. And he kind of sort of semi-forgot that it's a reaction, so you can only ever get 2 shots out of it. He was thinking you might be able to get 3, I think, or I think it was like Brainstorm, but you can only ever get 2, so you doesn't really need 3 in a row. You need 2 archers next to each other. Shoot with one, shoot with the other. This is all about doing that. Unfortunately, the second one won't count towards keep chopping because the activation will have finished after the first action. But you can't have everything. But we'll see how we go. So that's the plan. The plan is Prog and Snurk at the back, sitting on objectives, using the dual hexes, the hexes with the 2 starting hexes next to each other with archers on. Try and funnel fighters towards that. Probably soften them up with the squigs and then mash them with Drizgit. That's probably how I'm going to play it. Zarbag, keeping him out of the way until he's cast his spells at least, and then we'll just have to see. I think I'm playing the Reavers, actually, I seem to remember now. And the Reavers are quite probably a good matchup for this deck because they haven't got good defense. Anybody with 2 dodge is going to start to get nasty, especially for the archers because they only roll 2 swords. So we'll see. But anyway, that's the deck. It's a really fun little deck. So I have played the games, and I really can remember who I'm playing. And they are great games, so do check them out. This is going to be a TTS game that we are still under lockdown. So we are just using TTS until lockdown is finished. So I forgot what I was going to say. Oh yeah, so do check it out, and I think this is a best of 3, so you'll get the first game on YouTube, but if you join Patreon, you'll get the second game as well. And they were a pair, or maybe a trio, of tremendous games, so do check them out. And anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you find this deck interesting. It actually reinvigorated my love for the Gitz, this deck, so I may be bringing it out in a slightly different form in the future. We'll see. But until then, bye. Shall we play some credits?